First item on the agenda would be consider approval of the minutes from the meeting of May 26th. Those minutes were presented to you in the board pack electronically. Any questions or comments on the minutes as presented?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Bounds to approve the minutes as presented.
Hudson second.
Second.
Second by Dubon. Roll call, please.
Ware.
Aye.
Yvonne.
Aye.
McFerrin.
Aye.
Bounds.
Aye.
Kissling.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays.
5 ayes, no nays. The minutes are hereby approved. Claims were also delivered for your review in the claims docket. Any questions or comments on the claims as presented? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the claims?
Approved.
Motion by Ware.
Second.
Second by McFerrin. Vote, please.
Ware.
Aye.
Yvonne.
Aye.
McFerrin.
Aye.
Bounds.
Aye.
Kissling.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays.
5 ayes, no nays. The claims are hereby approved. First item under my agenda would be to consider a request from Bill Dysinger. The council received this packet of information. Mr. Dysinger is asking for a council approval for the awning that is currently as part of the building on that borders on Main Street. It is the canopy that was part of his business when he operated on 4th Street. And during the 4th Street construction project, it was relocated to the entrance that now is used off of Main. You've received a packet of information from Mr. Dysinger with pictures detailing the placement of that awning, and has given you the background in his letter to Mr. Snyder on the position that it has. Under our code of ordinances, this type of erection must be approved by the city council. Through this whole transition, that was a step that was missed by me, and I wanted to have Mr. Dysinger have an opportunity to present his information to the council. Under our ordinance, and Mr. Snyder can verify this if he wants to, there is our ordinance number 9446 that it must be approved by the council, and also under that same standard of 9445, it sets standards for such an awning. And I believe with the demonstration that Mr. Dysinger has given us in these pictures, and if you've seen it, it does meet all the requirements of code as for its height and its regulation and that. And so the construction as it stands does meet all city codes for such an awning, but it would just need approval for the city to accept this. Is that correct, Mr. Snyder?
That is correct. The only issue I believe that remains is the fact that it technically is on state right of way. The state, however, with regard to sidewalks, generally defer to cities and towns to regulate sidewalks. If you would grant approval to maintain the canopy, I think it should be a conditional approval subject to NDOT's approval or permission. If NDOT comes in and wants to redo that part of Main Street and it somehow interferes with their reconstruction, your approval should not stand, obviously. So I think it should be a conditional approval subject to NDOT's approval.
Okay. So you have before us the request. Mr. Dysinger has joined us by phone for this meeting as well. Council, any questions for Mr. Dysinger concerning the request?
This is Jeff Bounds. Bill, thanks for joining us this evening. As I understand it, you have received some approval from NDOT already, correct?
Yes. We've talked to Randy Carey, that is over in Vincennes, and he actually sent over, and you should have that in your packet information, the code that states clearly that we're within the city limits and that we are set back behind the curb. So when we're set back behind the curb, that clears NDOT. So they're clear there. So it's basically just up to the Common Council now to approve it.
That's the way I understood it, Phil. Is that
Yeah, NDOT does defer to the city for anything behind the curb. The only issue in this particular situation is that our ordinance does prohibit canopies that use a support connected to the sidewalks. They have to be totally supported from the building. In this particular situation, Mr. Dysinger had this particular canopy on 4th Street, and it was erected in the same fashion with supports on the sidewalk. The city had, of course, in discussions with him, led him to believe that if it was okay with NDOT, it was okay with the city, and NDOT has approved it. If you do look at the diagram, the supporting poles are in between a large light pole and a large state sign support, so they don't really interfere with any pedestrian right of way or pedestrian passage. Again, I would, it may be my recommendation that you give conditional approval provided that it's okay with NDOT.
Any other questions? Bill, any comment from you before we take a vote on the issue?
No, I don't think so, other than if you look at Exhibit 1 and 3, which is in everybody's packet that you were so kind to get out to everybody, that you'll see that what Phil Schneider said there, that it is clearly between the light post and the state highway marker. And so there's no obstruction to any pedestrian or bicyclist of any kind. And then if you look at Exhibit 2, that you'll see that that's clearly stated right there to what Phil was talking about. So, and then Phil was gracious enough in his letter to me to tell me that the height was 8 foot. And if you look at Exhibit 4, of course, that was already met the code back in the 1990s when it was in front of the Dysinger Crooked Jewelry Store on 4th Street. And we were at 8 foot. Matter of fact, the lower part is exactly right at 8 feet. So you can see that in Exhibit 4 and Exhibit 5.
Okay. Very good.
The other question that Phil asked is how that is anchored to the building, which is actually very important. That is all reinforced aluminum that's welded to its framework. It's a self-contained aluminum framework, and that is locked into the building by lag shields and lag bolts. So you could basically jump up and down on the framework up there all you wanted to, and it's not going to budge.
Very good. Very good. Any questions from the council? Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the request for Mr. Dysinger for the awning that is placed at his business, conditional upon approval from the Indiana Department of Transportation. Do I have a motion to that effect?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Ware,
I'll second that motion.
second by Bounds. We have a vote, please.
Ware,
Aye.
Yvonne,
Aye.
McFerrin,
Aye.
Bounds,
Aye.
Kissling.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays.
5 ayes, no nays. The request is hereby approved. Bill, thank you for your time and working with us on this, and thank you for your commitment to downtown Huntingburg. I think we're going to see
Well,
the extension of our business continuing, and as was the tradition with your family. So thank you so much.
well, thank you so much. I appreciate it, everybody. And if there's anything we can ever do for you, feel free to reach out. I think most of you have my phone number. So we'll be back and forth and look forward to seeing 4th Street continue to grow. So thank you very
Bill.
much.
Appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Thanks.
Next up, we have consider approval of the distribution of the Paragus Economic Development Grant. As the council is aware, this grant was approved by the council earlier with a number of covenants and agreements. The most important of that being that the grantee would make a capital investment no less than $5 million, but no later than June 1 of 2020. In your documents they have before us, you see a pay app presented by Paragus, dated 5/25 of 20, which shows an amount of expenditures at $5.6 million at this time. So that document is to verify the meeting of those requirements. Gary Ritz is here with us this evening, and Gary, if you want to step up to the hot seat over here, we'll let Gary kind of explain where we are and give you some more details on how this project stands at this time. So Gary, welcome to the meeting.
Thank you for having us. I apologize. Last meeting, I had some technical difficulties on my end, and I could see and hear the council members, but I understand they could not see and hear me, and I'm sure it was operator error on my part, although I don't know exactly what that was. But again, thank you for having us. First, we have incurred costs in excess of $5.6 million on the Wagon Works development through May 25th. That represents about 82% of the total cost, construction cost of the job. None of the apartments are done yet. However, we expect to have approval for occupancy of the clubhouse building and the first 16-unit apartment building by the end of this month. And we expect to have permission to occupy all of the buildings, all of the apartments by the end of next month. So we are expecting that not only will the apartments be approved for occupancy by the end of July, but by the end of July or very early August, we will have all of the landscaping done, the streets will be done, and we will be open for business. Having said that, we are actively taking applications from individuals and households to rent apartments at Wagon Works. To date, we have received 66 inquiries. We don't know where all of those inquiries come from or came from, but those that have identified their source, 26 came from our website, 13 came through drive-by notification. We have sent out 36 applications. Again, we don't know where that all 36 people are because they may ask for an application by email, we'll respond by email, and they may not follow up, or we may not be able to contact them to know exactly where they live or where they came from. However, of the applicants that we have identified where they currently live, 18 or half currently live in Huntingburg. So we feel that's positive because we're confident that more than half of the total applications we've sent out are to Huntingburg residents. Another characteristic or demographic that we measure is what's the family size of the people that are interested in Wagon Works. We know of 33 of the people that have inquired, or the households that have inquired. Of those 33, 23 have been single person households. 6 have been 2-person households and 4 have been 3-person households. We do not know of any households inquiring to reside at Wagon Works in excess of 3 people. Doesn't mean there haven't been any. This is consistent with the housing studies that we were provided by the city of Huntingburg. Those studies indicated that there was an unmet housing need for 1-person households. So by far the greatest number of households by size that have inquired have been single-person households. The incomes of the households at Wagon Works are restricted by the program that we have used to develop Wagon Works. In your packet, you have the current household incomes, and I'll get to those in a second. But of the inquiries that we've received, where they have also provided their household income information, 1 household was strictly Social Security, and 1 household had an annual income of $10,400. That is at the low end. At the high end, we did have a household inquire about residency at Wagon Works. Their household income was in excess of $70,000 a year. That household does not qualify to reside at Wagon Works because their income is too high. You may remember from our previous presentations that that our rents are controlled or established by the program under which the apartments are being developed. There are 2 variables to determine that rent level. One is the household income by size, and the other would be the utilities that the resident is required to pay. These are total electric apartments, so they will pay only the electric bill. All of the other utilities will be paid by Wagon Works. we have the 2020 utility allowances and household incomes. The household incomes were published May 11th. So this is all new information to the city council that we did not have the last time we were in front of you. The rents for 2020 range from $350 a month for the smallest studio apartment to $599 a month for the 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment, and that is the largest apartment. There are a total of 5 floor plans there, and the rental range is from $350 a month to $599 a month. The incomes, as I mentioned, are restricted by household size. The maximum income that a one-person household can have and qualify to live there is $32,760. A 4-person household can have as much income as $46,740 and qualify to live there. And again, in your information packet, we break that down by floor plan and by apartment type. And I want to make sure that the council members understand that the 1- and 2-person households, some of the apartments carry with them a more restrictive maximum income limit than the number I quoted. The number I quoted was the maximum income for those households that want to reside in a 2-bedroom apartment. So all of that information is in your packet. I'm able to, if I'm not able to answer the question, I have Mike Nance with me. Together, we think we can answer all of your questions. So that's the extent of our update, but we are happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Council, any questions for Gary?
I have one. Are you allowed to elaborate on like how many people was working in the county or in the town? If you told us a number, how many people are applicants from the city of Huntingburg? I mean,
I do not have that information with me. And I don't have, let me look here. I have, we sent out 36 applications. We've been having trouble getting applications back. And I'd have to verify that number. We've probably only received around 10 applications back. I would have to look at those to see where those people work. I do not have that information with me. I can tell you that we have approved 2 of the applications that have been received, but we have not quoted a move-in date yet because the buildings still aren't complete. We have found it to be a little difficult to get people to return their applications and to come out and see the apartments for 2 reasons. One is the apartments aren't done yet, but secondly, people just don't seem to want to get out and come and look at the apartments right now. Hopefully, as Indiana reopens, that will change.
very well. I was just kind of curious.
Any other questions from the council? Well, Gary, I want to say on behalf of the city, we appreciate this update. I know that we're going to continue to have more and more information as we go forward, as that data becomes available. I'm sure, as we try to communicate, Gary and I are in communication with each other at least every other week to make sure. And as that data becomes more available, I'm sure that you'll share that with us, and we can share that with the council as well. So as more data becomes available, we'll make sure that we share that.
We're happy to provide that information and these updates anytime that you would like for us to.
Okay. So the issue before us now is that under the approval of the grant, is my opinion that the Paragus has met the approval of the conditions for the grant, and would need a motion to approve the extension of the grant amount of $25,000 to Paragus for meeting the conditions presented by the council in their documents. So I have a motion to approve the grant amount.
Motion made.
Motion by McFerrin,
I'll second the motion.
second by Bounds. Vote, please.
Ware,
Aye.
Yvonne,
Aye.
Barron,
Aye.
Bounds,
Aye.
Kissling,
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays.
5 ayes, no nays. The approval is granted. Congratulations, and we look forward to more updates in the coming months. Gary, appreciate you and Mike, all the work and that's being done, and and some very positive comments from the community as they've seen the fronts come up and what the buildings look like. I think is very appropriate for the community, and look forward to a good relationship here for years to come.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Snyder, anything for the council this
I
evening?
have nothing.
Mr. Dipple, anything for the council this evening? Any other items from the council this evening? Hearing none.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Kissling to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Ware. Vote, please.
Ware.
Aye.
Yvonne.
Aye.
Barrett.
Aye.
Bounds.
Aye.
Kissling.
Aye.
5 ayes, no nays.
5 ayes, no nays. The motion carries. We are hereby adjourned. Thank you so much for your attendance, and we'll have a regular meeting again in 2 weeks.